Hello and welcome back to UIE TV. Please like and subscribe to channel to get further videos directly in your inbox.
To all the Lebanese people, we are determined to proceed with the investigations and to uncover the circumstances of what happened as quickly as possible, and to hold accountable those responsible and inflict on them the most severe punishment.
Facts will be announced about the dangerous warehouse that has existed since 2014, meaning from 6 years ago, but I will not jump into any conclusions.
President Trump told reporters his generals think it was an attack.
They would know better than I would, but they seem to think it was an attack. It was a bomb of some kind.
There was a massive explosion. I mean, something that really shook this city like I've never seen before. And I've been through wars here in Lebanon, and this is something unheard of.
All the windows, all the stairs, everything went chaos. It was a nightmare. We felt that for the first time.
I'm looking at the buildings all around me. Many windows are also smashed. There's lots of glass and other debris in the street.
Too soon to know if this explosion was an accident or an attack. But what we do know about the devastating detonation that has killed more than 100 people and injured thousands of others is staggering. At its core, ammonium nitrate, shipped into Bejrútu aboard this relatively small Russian-owned cargo vessel, late 2013. The 86-metre MV Rosus was Moldovan-flagged, had arrived from the former Soviet Republic of Georgia via Istanbul, loaded with fertilizer, was en route to Mozambique, but ordered into Beirut port for seafaring violations. The cargo, ammonium nitrate fertilizer, is so dangerous, US forces had the Afghan government ban its use in 2010 because it was being used to kill US troops. Once in Beirut port, MV Rosus's owner abandoned the ship and crew. According to the captain, he left us in a knowing, dangerous situation, doomed to hunger. The captain also telling Radio Free Europe MV Rosus was impounded for failure to pay fees. The 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate then shifted to a warehouse. Why so much, and why such a dangerous bomb-making precursor was still there 6 years later is central to the government's investigation. Although hours later, the DoD dialed back the bomb theory, 3 US officials telling CNN they didn't know what the president was talking about. However, Lebanese officials are still investigating. One intelligence officer said the theory they're working on is the explosions were triggered by a bomb, and are scrolling through footage of the explosions, searching for clues. One reliable regional intelligence source told CNN the ammonium nitrate storage was well known to Lebanon's international partners, who'd pressured the government to get rid of it. Already in tatters economically, politically and medically, Lebanon, long a cauldron of vexed competing interests, has much at stake in figuring out who is to blame. If the investigation finds it was an attack, not an accident, the government may have a sliver of hope, navigating the immense anger of people who have suffered so much, only to be thrown into such a hell again.
Syrian and Palestinian refugees was estimated to be living in poverty. Many were also living in the dark, thanks to rolling blackouts. Time for worse. Beirut's deadly explosion could not have come at a worse time for Lebanon. The country has been in dire straits since last year, when its banking system, described as a Ponzi scheme, began to disintegrate, pushing unemployment up, the currency down, and bringing thousands onto the streets in protest. Even before the blast, half of Lebanon's population, swollen by Syrian and Palestinian refugees, was estimated to be living in poverty. Many were also living in the dark, thanks to rolling blackouts. Now, aid agencies are sounding the alarm.
It's an economic crisis, a financial crisis, a political crisis, a health crisis, and now this horrible explosion. So there are many layers to what's happening in Lebanon that is constantly testing the ability of the Lebanese and the refugees who live in Lebanon to be resilient.
Much of the immediate concern comes from the supply chain. The port of Bejrútu, where the explosion occurred, is the main maritime hub for a nation heavily dependent on goods from abroad. 60% of all imports pass through it, and it's where grain is stored, prompting fears of food shortages in a market ravaged by soaring prices and years of corruption.
In the last few months, the Lebanese society has suffered greatly from an economic and financial crisis, and the Lebanese and the refugees who live in Syria have found it more and more difficult to buy food and to buy goods.
With financial support from Gulf countries drying up as Hezbollah plays a more prominent role in its politics, Lebanon defaulted on some of its debt in March, at the time that coronavirus also took hold. It tried to gain a $10 billion loan from the IMF, but those talks stalled last month, and Lebanon's credit rating was cut to the lowest rank by Moody's, on a par with Venezuela. Now, one foreign revenue driver, tourism, has also been badly hit.
It's a disaster for Lebanon, for the economy, and especially for tourism. We were at maybe 5 to 15% occupancy because of Corona, because of the political problem with the Arab countries. But unfortunately, what happened yesterday is a real disaster.
Straddling the geopolitical fault lines in the Middle East, Lebanon is no stranger to turmoil or tragedy. But the effects of this massive blast will shake this economy to its already fragile foundations.
And Rima, it is still unclear what exactly caused the explosion. Lebanon's Prime Minister says the focus is a stash of explosive ammonium nitrate stored at a warehouse. The Lebanese president earlier promising transparency and accountability for the blast. I want our viewers to have a listen to exactly what he said. Have a listen yourself.
To all the Lebanese people, we are determined to proceed with the investigations and to uncover the circumstances of what happened as quickly as possible, and to hold accountable those responsible and inflict on them the most severe punishment.
As a Lebanese, Rima, what is your reaction to Michel Aoun's words?
I have fatigue. I've lived throughout war. My father was assassinated in 1980. I grew up without a father, and they stole my childhood memories. We didn't have a happy childhood. Then came the rebuilding of Beirut. We had a dream. They just killed our dreams. I just lost my home. I nearly lost my mom. And many other people lost loved ones. What more can you give a country? This is a country that has witnessed so many wars and had witnessed so many corrupt governments. That's how I feel. I feel sad beyond description. I feel angry. And I just wonder why the Lebanese have been sedated. I've been here for a few weeks. The collapse of the Lebanese lira, Lebanese pound is horrendous. Many families can barely make ends meet. And yet the silence among the Lebanese, I don't know how we're going to go forward. And the problem, Becky, is that we see that it's a rotten system now. The medical system that we had used to be one of the best, but with the economic crisis, it's going down the drain. And everything else, the banking system. You go in the streets, there are no traffic lights. You go to the hospitals now, they're half of them blown out, or they can't accommodate the Lebanese. I just feel very angry and very exhausted by Lebanon. It's my country. I love this country. I've given everything. I worked abroad, and I used to send every penny to Lebanon to help the family, to help the economy of this country. And I know I now ask, what more can this country give me other than take away loved ones and loved things?
Thanks for watching Universal Information and Entertainment TV. Please like and subscribe our channel for more updated videos, news, information and entertainment. See you in next video. Stay tuned.